Hey guys, I had the weirdest dream, and then I've been sitting here trying to master the lesson that has come off this dream, and I thought I'd record it because it's all to do with ascensions and... Hang on. Sorry, I had to sneeze. It's all to do with ascensions and how to survive them. Especially because you have so many trips on the roundabout, so to speak. You have so many Phoenix rising moments. It's like you never know when it's going to bloody stop. But what I can tell you is that karmic cycles will keep repeating itself when you're going through an ascension. So you can think that you've ascended, but then something will happen that'll take you down to a trip into the underworld, and depending on how quickly you learn the lesson depends on how quickly you get out of it. And, go to the earth stage and start working your way up again. And the ascension process, like the longer you're on it, the faster the cycles go. When you're being taken back down into the underworld, it is always because there is something you haven't seen or a lesson you haven't learned that needs to be cleared away from your energy source, from your biomagnetic frequency, so that when you pass through the eye of the needle for your final ascent, you have no baggage. All the things and all the people that aren't allowed to go with you, that aren't of the same vibration, that aren't true or deceptive or won't be beneficial to your process, or you simply haven't seen it, or you haven't been able to let it go, or you haven't quite kicked the habit, or you're still dealing with a bit of paranoia, or anything that is considered a sandbag that is holding your flight down is finally removed once and for all. And so you'll keep going through these cycles of underworld, earth, fire, water, air, ether, creation frequency, until all the lessons are learned and all the things and people and places have been completely washed from your system. Like the eye of the needle. If you know what the eye of the needle is in Jerusalem, it's a tiny door that they used to have to take all the bags and all the things that the camels used to carry in order to pass through the door into the gates of Jerusalem. It was called the Eye of the Needle. But the only way the camel could go through the Eye of the Needle was to strip itself of everything that wasn't natural for it to carry. Man's riches and things like that, because the camels were often carrying, the goods that the merchants were selling and things like that to make money, like bags of frankincense and jewels and, whatever it was they were selling to market or wanting to trade with the king. So I've just had that, and I'm trying to make sense of it all. Because, as you know, I use my life as an example. I put everything that happens in my life out there for everyone to see, good or bad, so they know how I deal with it, so they can use it to deal with it themselves as well. I lead by example. That's what a divine feminine does. A divine feminine, divine masculine lead by example. So we put our lives out there for our community to see, so they can see how we handle and deal with situations. So I'm a visual thinker. I'm a person who thinks through imagery. Every word that is spoken to me, I envision in my head. If it's of a certain caliber, like obviously insults and criticisms and things like that just roll off me because it's not, it doesn't register the same frequency. How can I explain it? Words register in a certain frequency with me that I can take on board, and there are some things that don't register. How can I explain it? Imagine everything in the world comes with a certain code of letters and numbers. If those codes and letters and numbers don't match the frequency in my brain, I can't take them on board. That's why I'm crap with maths. I have like maths autism, but I can remember massive long sequence of numbers. I can remember a 20, 30 digit code, but try and get me to do algorithms and stuff and my brain completely fries. But there's certain words and certain sequences that they come in that won't register and I can't take them on board. It's like they clash with my frequency, they clash with my biomagnetism, and I can't absorb them. If I can't learn from the words, if I can't learn from the codes, if I can't use the codes to manifest an image or a thought or a concept or a formula, my brain refuses to take it on board. And that's what happens with when you go through an eye of the needle, when you go through your final ascent. Whatever last little remnants of your life have a clashing code, your brain drops it so that you're only left with the bare minimum of what is productive and positive and useful in the advancement of your growth to take on board as what is left with you when you pass through the eye of the needle. I can also tell you that when you have your final ascent, the things that you have to let go of are the hardest things you have to do. They're the things that you put off to the last minute, the things you don't want to do but you know you have to for the greater good of humanity. Because creative empaths, whether you're a divine masculine or a divine feminine or not, we have a responsibility to make sure that the work that we put out there is of the highest frequency and of the highest caliber, because what we put out will have an effect on man for centuries to come. The work we create affects humanity for centuries to come, like your Mozarts and your Van Goghs and your Kurt Cobains and stuff like that. The work we produce leaves a legacy. And I'm trying to teach creative empaths how to set their legacy on a correct course so that the legacy they leave doesn't have a negative impact on people later on in the future. Because there's people who are such admirers of Van Goghs and Kurt Cobains, they try to emulate their lifestyle, and of course that's dangerous. And because creative empaths are the master manifestors of the universe, because we are the ones that write the classic novels and make the movies that go down in history and create the rocket ships that go into space, or the piece of clothing that revolutionizes the way women look when they're pregnant, or, that supports the belly. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because we are the inventors and the creators, we are the machine behind the architecture of our universe. As the gatekeeper, it is my responsibility to make sure that what is put out in my lifetime is of a high enough caliber and frequency that when it is impacted in the future, it is of a positive impact. That's why my business structure, I take care of everything from animals, plants, and nature and humans and all that, from every aspect, from conception, sex advice, sex therapy, marriage advice, fertility advice, pregnancy, carrying the pregnancy, after the baby, right through to death and preparing bodies for the afterlife, and then helping the families deal with their grief after the person is gone. Like, I am broad spectrum, and I will only have people of the highest caliber near me. But the interesting thing is that the eye of the needle opens your eye as well. Because you're stepping into the creation frequency once and for all, and there's no jumping in between worlds. Your eye is opened, your galactic eye, your universal eye is opened once and for all. And I'm a dragon, so I have the biggest eye. And dragons rule time and ancestry, and my primary totem is dragon. So the biggest eye is opening. You go through an eye-awakening experience that you will never forget. And the reason is, and I don't know, I'm going to have to wait until my other friends have finished their ascensions, but I don't know whether it's the same for everyone or whether it's just me. But the eye-opening event is the event that happens that makes you see once and for all the reality you're living, so that you know to split the difference. See, for me, my issue has always been I've been too trusting of people. I give my heart and my emotions to people too trustingly, and I'm loyal to the wrong people. And that's been dangerous for me my whole entire life, because I end up being taken advantage of and stolen from. And, it's the classic creative empath thing. It happens to every single creative empath in the world, that you are too trusting of people because you don't like to think bad of people. And there are very good actors out there. There are people out there that are very, very good at being deceptive, even to people like us. But the ascension starts to wake you up. And what I've noticed is, the more you ascend and the closer you get to passing through the eye of the needle, the bigger the deception that is revealed. So when you first have your ascension and you go through the underworld, you have it revealed to you the lowest forms of humanity that are in your life, like the lowest events, the lowest, the people of the lowest vibration, the events of the lowest vibration, the trauma of the lowest vibration, the addiction that is causing you the biggest harm, that sort of thing. They get removed first. And then as you keep recycling and going round and round and shedding more layers, as you learn each lesson, and you'll go up to the ethers and then down to the underworld, and then you'll go through the underworld, earth, fire, water, air, ether, creation again, and you just keep going round and round and round until all the veils, karmic veils, dharmic veils, deception veils, truth veils, people you thought didn't have your back really did, people who said they had your back really didn't, people who were pretending to be there and then just using you to their advantage, or food that you really loved your whole life that you didn't realise was the reason why your ankles were swollen. Look, it's little things. Songs that you were listening to that are of a certain frequency that you didn't realise that when you listen to them is actually the reason why you end up depressed for the next couple of days. It's all these sort of things, like as you ascend, and the faster you ascend and the faster you go through the cycles, the wider the eye opens. And then what happens is you have to step through the veil out of the matrix and into the reality of what your life is. And if you choose to do it, you get to pass through the eye of the needle, where it then slams shut and you see behind the eye and not what the eye is looking at. So you get to see creation instead of reality. You get to see the subconscious. You get to see the conscious reality, like the conscious universe. You get to see everything for what it is and not the reality of perception, or the perception of reality. Because the matrix isn't real. Reality isn't real. Reality is a glitch in itself, because of the fact that people aren't living true to their vibration. People aren't living to their true vibration. The Schumann resonance adjusts people's frequency like a dial on a stovetop that turns the heat up or down, and is adjusted accordingly depending on the person or people you're around, the activities you're undertaking, the music you're listening to, the food you're eating. People don't realise that 90% of the food they're going to eat is the reason why they are tired all the time, why they can't think straight. Kinesiology. I use kinesiology in my food. So all the food that my customers are going to eat in my cafe, it's all going to be aligned and attuned to their personal biomagnetic frequency, so their body won't reject it, and it will absorb it and the nutrients and minerals from it in order to help them ascend and deal with their lives a lot better, because my food will heal you as you eat it, because I use kinesiology and chemistry and things like that in order to alchemize the best possible benefits from the food that you're eating in order to become a health benefit to you. So the food that I give you is like a healing medicine for your mind, body and spirit because I use things like kinesiology, and I make sure that alchemically all the ingredients that go into the food, when they come together on a molecular level, become medicine, like a prescription. So this dream that I had, I dreamt that I was listening to those drums again. I was being called to the drums to the top of this Mayan temple. And when I got to the top, all the native people were at the bottom and they were clapping and cheering. And I was getting embarrassed, and then they all got down on their hands and knees and started bowing to me, and I was getting really embarrassed, like really embarrassed, and I wanted to cry. Like I was like, no, like no, don't, like you don't need to do that, don't do it. And then the light started shining up from the middle of that temple again, and I have been to this temple a lot. And I say it's a Mayan temple because it's the only way I can describe what it looks like, but it's somewhere in South America, like the lower half of Central or South America. And I was on the top, and the light started beaming out. I've recorded this stream on Instagram as well. And the light started beaming at the top, and it was pure golden light. And as the light hit the sky, the clouds parted, and this arm came down that had a Scorpio tattoo on it. Now, I don't know if this is literal or not, but I know that my the one that has been chosen, my chosen one, I call him Buffalo because his primary totem is buffalo. He's supposed to be branded for me. And this arm came down and it had a Scorpio tattoo on its arm. And I don't know if that's literally that he's going to have a Scorpio tattoo, or whether it's just resembling the fact that he's branded for me, that I will know him by his brand. It came down from the sky and opened his hand up and told me to take his hand, but his hand was huge, and I actually climbed onto his hand, like in a big friendly giant kind of way. I climbed onto his hand, and as he was lifting me up into the sky, I could see all these people being arrested. And I could see like police cars, police vans. I could see a judge with a hammer and a gavel. And there must have been like 20, 30 people, and they were all being arrested. I remember seeing FBI. I remember seeing the American SEAL, and there were just police cars, like houses being raided, computers being taken, bags of money being taken. I could see like bank accounts, merchandise. And it's like Buffalo, was showing me, look at what you were about to get involved in, or like look at what was going on behind your back. Look at what was happening. Like forcing me to look. But it had no impact on me. Like I wasn't emotional about it. Because it was like I was letting the universe deal with it. Like it wasn't, not my monkey, not my zoo. Not my problem. Sort of thing. some of these people, I heard 26 years. Whoever these people were, one of them's going to get 26 years. Some of them are going to get 2, 3, 4 years. And I keep hearing one's going to go on the run. So he pulls me up into the creation frequency, and instead of him being a person or the giant arm with the tattoo, he's just energy, and he's holding me. He's holding me, like as in a loving embrace. And he says to me, "What did you learn from this?" And that's what I'm sitting here trying to figure out. What did I learn from this whole experience? My whole entire life, 48 years of me working on quantum magnetics and working on my ascension sciences and that, so that I can help people with their ascensions. What have I learned from this whole thing? And what I learned is that I have realised that this whole experience has taught me to put a divide between who and what I love and reality. Put a divide between the creation frequency and reality. There are people that I love who have proven their loyalty and their trustworthiness and that on this side, and then there's everybody else, and never the two shall meet. Keep everybody and everything that is proven to be conductive and productive and conducive to my growth and the benefits of the growth of humanity and my empire is there. And then there's everybody else, and there's everything else, and never the two shall meet. And now the eye is shut. That's it. All the people that are in my life currently are the ones who now get to see what's on the other side of creation. And my daughter, when I have her, she is creation itself. I'm the 7th element, that's creation frequency. She is the 8th element, she is before creation. So I catch slipstreams of time, which is why it can be really confusing, because I can sometimes catch a slipstream that isn't correct. If it's a fault, like I can catch a slipstream of time into someone's reality, thinking because it's coming from the creation frequency that it is a correct reality, when in actual fact it's a false reality, and that's the matrix. But now I've learned to wait until the frequency turns gold, basically. If they don't have a gold frequency around them, they're not a true reality, and I can tell the difference now. Now I know. And it was the hardest lesson I had to learn, and I had to learn this lesson the hard way, and it's left me licking my wounds a little. It's been embarrassing for me, because, I would have sworn my life on some of these people. I did swear my life in allegiance to some of these people. And some of these ideas and plans that I had that I would genuinely thought were genuinely 100% pure. And it turns out it was smoke and mirrors, because again, as I keep saying, as creative empaths, we reflect in others what we see in ourselves. So you can think that you're seeing the best in them when you're actually seeing the best in yourself, and that they're a false reality. And that's a really hard lesson to learn, guys, and it's going to hurt, trust me. But just remember this: As you know, that saying, rejection is God's protection. I say rejection is rejection is ancestral selection. If my ancestors have stopped someone from passing through the eye of the needle with me as part of my biomagnetic frequency so that they can prosper from my gains, then they are removed. And what will happen is your gods, your God, your ancestors, spirit, the divine, whoever it is that you believe in, the biggest lesson, the one you're refusing to look at, will be the hardest one to deal with before you go through the eye of the needle, because it's the one that you were refusing to look at in the first place. And it's a lesson, it's a karmic lesson to kick you up the backside to say, see, even that wasn't what you thought it was. Even they weren't what you thought it was. Even this wasn't good for you. Even that was the reason why, and it's really hard, but it is with good reason. It is to help you. It is never to hurt you. And that's what you need to remember. This is not to hurt you. It is to help you. It is to make you a better person. It is to relieve your frequency of anything that is holding you back. It is to help you push past the Schumann resonance so that when you do have your falls and your trips into the underworld, they are lesser and lesser every time. But I promise you, once the lesson is learned, history will never repeat itself. Do you see what I mean? Because it's like a scratch in the record, and it will just, these karmic cycles, or basically history repeating itself over and over and over again. It can, same person, same situation, different face. Same circumstance, different area. You know what I mean? Like, oh, why does this keep happening to me? It's because you're not learning the lesson from it. And history keeps repeating itself until the glitch is worked out of the matrix, until you can see the reality for what it is. And then you can put a clear line in the sand and go, right, that belongs in that category. The reality is they can't be trusted. That belongs in that category. The reality is they've been the most loyal. This belongs in that category because that was making me ill, that was giving me heart palpitations, that was giving me headaches. That is on this side because this makes me, gives me more energy and makes me happier. Do you see what I mean? But I can't say definitively whether it's going to be the same lesson for everybody else. Everybody's lessons is, I'm guessing, more than likely going to be different depending on the choices you've made, because you have to remember, people keep saying about time not being linear. Time is fluid. Time moves fluidly, but once a decision is made, it becomes linear, because then it becomes like a needle in the thread of the fabric of your timeline, and time has to become linear in order to pass through the eye of the needle. See? I make sense in the end. But only true reality can pass through the eye of the needle. If it's a false reality, it's going to be the cotton, the fabric would be too thick to fit through it. And you'd be trying to stuff like a finger that thick of leather into a tiny little cotton-eyed needle, and it wouldn't fit. So what happens is your ascension shaves and strips everything back from the leather so that it becomes a cotton thread to fit through the eye of the needle. And that's what that is. And so when I catch false slipstreams, when I go down a wrong portal, it's like I hit a brick wall and it doesn't make sense, and I kind of maybe get a bit dazed and confused. And then I sort of have to shake my head a little, and, the birds flying around my head and everything like that. It's a bit discombobulating. But once you compose yourself again, then you're turned in another direction. So when you hit these brick walls with people or situations or whatever, and nothing is moving forward, you're being told, you've got to compose yourself and wait for the redirection because you're being turned in a new direction. And it's like a pinball. You feel like a pinball. You'll be flying through the air, and then you'll hit something that redirects you. Whatever it is you hit, you think you're heading in that direction, but whatever it is that you hit, it's to redirect you into a better flow of energy that is more conducive to your personal growth. And it's all stripping back and shedding layers so that your frequency is thin enough to pass through the eye of the needle when you step into the creation frequency once and for all. I can't even explain it other than it's almost like reality doesn't exist to me anymore. I am emotionally and mentally completely cut off from anything that isn't the reality of what it is that I know. Does that make sense? It's incredible. It's not that I've toughened up. It's not that I've hardened up. It's that I've learned the lesson of seeing the reality of what it really is, and now and to know the difference between the matrix and what is consciousness. Because consciousness is free flowing, whereas the matrix tries to control what it is that you think, what you feel, what you see, how you react. But when you step out of that, it's like there's a fine marker, there's a line that's been drawn. That is, that isn't. And the stuff that isn't is now like emotionally, mentally, physically, like it's cut off. There's zero emotion. And I think that's, I always said, it's always said about Scorpios that we love you until we don't. But when we stop loving you, you feel it. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I was born a Scorpio, because I am one of these people that once I cut off that connection with you, that's it, you're done. Like I wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire kind of thing. Like that's how I am. And it's taken me that long to realise that this is probably a mechanism that's been built in me to save my sanity, because of the fact that creative empaths feel on such a deep level that betrayals and that sort of thing can lead to like depression and anxiety and paranoia and sleepless nights and insomnia and eating disorders and self-medication, self-harming, suicidal thoughts, and then suicide. And I'm not going down like that. There's no one on earth that's ever going to get me to the point where I'm going to feel like I need to give up my life for them. Anybody that makes you feel like that isn't worth the paper they're written on. I swear to God, burn it down. So yeah, so it's been weird and it's been interesting and it's been fascinating and it's been sad because like I want to say like I'm grieving the loss of my past, but it's not that I'm grieving the loss of my past. It's that I'm grieving the loss of who I thought I was, that turns out, I'm not going to say she was just pathetic. She wasn't. The old me, she wasn't pathetic. She was just so bloody blind. I was blind, but now I see. The universal eye opened up, showed me reality. I passed through the eye of its needle, and that's, now it's closed shut, and that's it, done. And it's like all these people that I once had intense emotions and feelings for, now it's just dead. Like there's just nothing. All the music that I used to spend hours and hours and hours and hours listening to because it just made me feel so good, now there's just nothing. It's like I've had to rebuild my life and rebuild my likes and my tastes and my everything to fit the new person that I've become. I went through the eye of the needle and shed everything that wasn't productive to me. And one of the things that I had to shed was everything about me. Everything about me. And that's what I think I've been grieving. In the underworld, I think that's what the grieving was. Is that I realised that Debbie really had died. Like, she's gone. She's not nowhere near the person she used to be. Because she woke up to reality and saw it for what it really was. It kind of shut that door to any emotional link. And it's toughened me up, but in a way that's made me see clearer, in a way that's made me see further, in a way that's made me hungry for what it is I see at the end. Because I saw something at the end of that vision. And that's what I need to get to. And what I saw as Buffalo's hand was pulling me up, I saw in the distance not only like my daughter and that, but I saw my store all around the world. Like my store becomes a chain of stores all around the world. Some of my products get advertised on billboards and become sponsors for sporting events and things like that. I become a brand and a sponsor, and I think I'm going to be going around the world giving talks and having like my ministry and recording my shows where I do historical grief investigations. And it was like tens of millions of people knew who I was. And I was still wearing t-shirt and undies and bare feet. Not in front of all the people, obviously, but you know what I mean. Like, nothing about me had changed except the fact that everybody knew who I was. And as I was starting to wake up from it, I heard, "See, you always said you were going to be White Oprah." And then I woke up. So, yeah, I wanted to share that with you all. I don't know what I'm going to title this women thing. But I've been on a roller coaster ride these last couple of days. It's been the scariest ride of my life. But now I'm hungry for what's at the end. Because if I've gotten to that level, then it means that my dragonarium, I've got dragonariums all over the world as foster homes and taking in unaccompanied border children. It means that I'm making enough money that I'm able to take care of my community and humanity exactly how it was intended. And all I had to do was shed the last layer so that I could pass through the eye of the needle. So I don't know who this Big Daddy is, but his ancestors keep calling. And I don't know if he has got a Scorpio tattoo on his arm or on his body, whether the tattoo was just representative of the fact that he's branded for me, or whether it's he's literally got a Scorpio tattoo somewhere on his body. But yeah, so whoever he is, I think he kind of possibly saved my reputation by making me see the bigger picture. Because when you see things from a higher perspective, you see things a lot more clearly. And if this is what had to happen, if this is what had to happen in order for me to get what I saw down the end of the road, and it was moving faster and faster towards me, the further he was lifting me up, if that's what I had to go through to do it, then I'll do it. Because then it means that not only do I get to save what little amount of children I could save in America, it means that I'll get to save millions of children around the world. for which it was all worth the sacrifice. Even if in the start it was me that was the sacrifice. So, yeah, food for thought. I should probably write this all on my book.